Hello, and welcome back to the second progress video of Parts Adrift. In Sprint 1, I was mainly focusing on the base level and the moving mechanics, trying to get the basics out the way, and finish creating the basis of the world and characters. In Sprint 2, I incorporated feedback from Epic Games and play testers, who suggested to me to prioritize the narrative of the game rather than setting it aside to improve the collect-a-thon gameplay. As a result, I have focused in reintroducing storytelling elements, developing dialogue for non-playable characters, and designing new areas that visually convey the story of the game in this sprint. I initially planned to include only Matches Field and Candlelight City in the game. However, after considering the gameplay aspect, I realized that having just two areas wouldn't be substantial enough. As a result, I decided to create a maze-like area called the Road to Candlelight City to enhance the exploration gameplay. While Matches Field did have some maze-like paths and twisting narrow pathways, they weren't as explorable and were mostly linear. Additionally, Epic Games criticized the amount of times the camera clipped through these narrow pathways and suggested exploring more methods for using the camera, such as fixed angles or more spacious areas. This feedback led me to create the Maze Road, which offers an explorative path with twists and turns, but is not too closed in for the camera to clip through. This new area feels less claustrophobic and addresses the issue of Lampert's sides clipping through. As it is a maze, I added a few open areas to it and split paths within, leading to some ship parts or NPCs. There is a hidden section in this maze. In this section, I plan on having a small village with various NPCs there, talking vaguely about the world. In my original concept for the full version, there was a village called Paraffin Village, where young candles lived inside their deceased parents, created from their own wax. I want to bring that concept to life in this village. I also envision Glaciarians inhabiting this village, with buildings crafted from Glaciarian materials. This village will serve as a focal point for providing hints to players about the world's workings. Characters will discuss their reasons for being there, their current situations, and the impact of the Chandelier's rule, offering more detailed exposition compared to the conversations in the Matches Field areas. And I kind of want to explore the idea of the seriousness in the characters the more the player explores the land. As for the scene changer, I have incorporated a series of arrows that will indicate that this will transition to a new scene. Players will simply need to collide with the arrows to trigger the change. As I mentioned in Sprint 1, I had issues with Lamport passing through the terrain and falling. The issue isn't as bad as before, but with the Insomnia I-72 Gaming Festival coming up, I'm concerned players may encounter that glitch. To address this, I added a scene changer arrow underneath both the Matches Field and the maze. This will take the player back to the start of the scene, but their progress will restart to when they entered the scene, which means any ship parts they found would reset to 0. This isn't an intentional feature, and I plan to fix it later on if I can. However, I'm not too worried about the collision issue for now. Finally, the primary focus of this sprint was to integrate the dialogue system into the game. I utilized a dialogue string code to create the dialogue strings in the game, and applied them to the characters. I have decided not to implement any button controls for interacting with the dialogue, as I believe the controls for Parts Adrift may become overly complex due to the existing tank controls of Lamport. Instead, the player will simply need to approach the NPCs to initiate the dialogue, and then use the mouse pad or mouse to progress through the conversation. I intentionally considered that the player could use the mouse pad, as it will be more convenient for them while playing the game, given that all controls are currently on the keyboard. At the moment, I plan to primarily convey the story through interactions with the NPCs and their behaviors. I don't believe that implementing a complete narrative would be possible given the scope of the project and the time constraints for now. As a result, I've incorporated the backstory of the world through the NPCs into their interactions with the player, allowing for different dialogue options and choices. While my original intention was for the NPCs to have ongoing dialogue, I realized that possibly having unique dialogue for each interaction could enhance replay value. Addressing feedback from Sprint 1, by allowing the player's choices to influence the NPC's feelings and the information they provide, I hope to encourage replay without overwhelming the player. However, I am concerned that this approach may be too demanding and could be perceived negatively by the player. Thank you for watching the Sprint 2 progress video for Parts Adrift. I'll see you next time for the Sprint 3 progress video.